Alright, so I'm basically picking up where we left off. I'm not sure if YouTube was going to cut off the last video, but all I basically said was it's going to make a couple of adjustments to the model in between videos. Basically, I've named all of our geometry over here, and the naming style that I like to use is the basically which side of the body it belongs to in a capital letter, underscore, and then lowercase the object. And basically, so I've done that, and I've also created two other cubes here. That's because this video is going to be basically about texturing. And well, first, before I get into texturing, let me just go ahead and group all of our boxMan things. Just going to select everything, shift select everything, and hit Control G, or if you're on a Mac, Apple G. And I'm going to name this geometry group underscore GRP for group. I'm also going to group that and name that boxMan complete. And it's going to go ahead and save. Alright, so now we've got our boxMan complete and geometry group underneath. And again, Control G, Apple G to group. Alright, so then I'm going to select geometry group, and I'm going to go down here and click this little button that has the blue sphere on it. The one next to it is just create a new layer. This one is create new layer with selected objects. You can see in the bottom left hand corner, this section over here, if you're confused about anything, it will always tell you when you hover over it. It's kind of like the help bar. And again, to turn that on, if it's not on, you basically just go up to display UI elements, restore or show all UI elements. Usually if you click both, then everything will come back and it's all good. Alright, so again, with geometry group selected, we want to go ahead and make that our new layer. Layer 1, double click on it. We're going to rename it geometry layer. You cannot, so geometry underscore LYR. You cannot name it geometry group underscore GRP because it will tell you there's an error, there's something already named. You cannot name it any of your objects. So just putting on that suffix LYR for the layers and the suffix for the groups GRP just helps to keep everything organized. Alright, and so now when you make this a layer, you notice that you have a V here for visibility, and sorry, I need to use my other mouse. Then you have this other box, which at the start it's got nothing. So basically you can add or you can edit the geometry. You can select it. Everything's normal. When you click the first one, you get T, which means template mode. And that's basically, you can't select it, you cannot snap to it, it's just there as a wireframe template. You click it one more time and it's R. You can't select it, but you are able to snap to it. Snapping is using any of these buttons up here or using XCV up there. And you would hold it and you can basically snap the vertices in it. So for example, just like that. And so it's very useful, and you won't, oops, let's see, my, oh, I think I'm having a hiccup here in my computer. Just give me 1 second. Alright, we're back there. Alright, cool. Sorry about that. Okay, so you can snap to it in reference mode. R is for reference mode, and that's what we're basically going to be leaving a bunch on. It's basically we're going to have it either as visibility and nothing, or visibility and reference for geometry, or no visibility and reference for joints and IKs. But again, since this part of the tutorial is about texturing, I'm going to show you basically how a box comes unwrapped, and basically how you would unwrap a a more complicated object that won't be a box and has to send it into Photoshop and bring it back into Maya. So first of all, process of unwrapping is basically well, in 3D space, objects are 3D and you can't really paint on 3D objects in software like Photoshop. They are with new versions, CS4, CS5. They have come out with 3D object painting. It's kind of iffy, like with the way that works, but I'm going to show you how to unwrap it. And like I said, unwrapping is the process of bringing a 3D object and making it a 2D object. So making all of these faces right here on one plane. So to bring up your UV texture editor, just make sure you're in the polygon menu set, and it's going to be this button right here on the end. And you get this right here, this box, and this is basically our cube unwrapped. You know, if you were going to basically, like, a lot of people compare it to you know, folding a cardboard box or anything like that. It's just, if you imagine unfolding the box, that's about as easily as I can explain it. So you know, if you see, if I go into Vertex Mode right here, this is right-clicking, hold, and dragging to these different things. I can select these vertices. We can find out which vertices are selected. The difference between vertices and UVs are vertices is an actual point in 3D space, but it shares many UVs. UVs are each of these points in 2D space. So if I go to UVs, we can see that each UV, these two UVs are shared by this point and these 2 points, because this point right here wraps all the way around and is the same as this point. Alright. So actually looks like this is going to be a 2-part video for texturing. That's fine. But basically this is how a cube comes unwrapped. Standard in Maya, all primitives are unwrapped. But let's pretend like you had a more complicated object and it wasn't unwrapped neatly for this. So to get it in that situation, I'm going to go to Edit UVs and Sew UV Edges, which is basically going to make all those nice edges, those border edges, and it's going to kind of try and make everything together. So this is basically a cube in 3D, but on 2D space. So we have a lot of overlapping faces and edges, which is not desirable for UVing, unwrapping. So to see border edges, sorry, I should have done something first. We're going to check this box right here, which is toggle display of texture borders for the active mesh. And so these bold lines, if we look in the 3D space and also on the 2D space, we can see where the borders are. So again, I'm going to just select this object, edit UVs, sew UV edges, and see now we have no thick lines, we have no border edges, and then I'm just going to go into edge mode and just going to, I'm basically choosing how I want to unfold the model right now. I'm showing these edges are all going to be cuts. So basically the blue edges are where the mesh will be held together. So this top face will kind of rotate up, this bottom face will rotate down, and all these edges right here are going to kind of unwrap that way. So I'm going to hit Edit UVs, Cut UV Edges. So now that these edges turn bold, I'm going to go back out into Object Mode, and I'm going to go ahead and go Edit UVs, Unfold. And there it is, our object as a unfolded mesh. And this worked just like it did because it's a cube, it's very easy. Maya's UV system is not that great. I recommend UV Layout, or ZBrush has a very nice one right now. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right now, and in part 2 of this texturing video I'm just going to show how to bring it into Photoshop and bring it back. Alright, thank you.